In this episode, I'm going to tell you about a war that I won. And the war was my grandma versus MTV. Stay tuned. Hi, my name is Jeff, and this is the RoneyZone Podcast, where we feature stories with humor, heart, and nostalgia. And this one is episode 8. And we're going to talk about a time when I lived with my grandma after my granddad passed away. I've mentioned that a few times, but if you're new, I'm just kind of bringing you up to speed. I had heard about this magical thing called MTV. And MTV at that time was music television. And I understood that they played music videos on this channel. And so I told my grandma, I said, we need to get cable TV. And she goes, no, we have a television. We have an aerial on the roof. And I said, no, Grandma, we need music television and we need cable TV. And she says, no, if you want music, we could get Lawrence Welk. He comes on, the weekends. And I just need the aerial. And I said, no, you need a box with buttons. She goes, no, I just need an aerial. It's already there. Nobody has to put it up or do anything. And I said, Grandma, you just don't understand. There's things on MTV that are just really cool. Like there's Pat Benatar. She goes, no, I don't know about that. But Lawrence Welk, they have bubbles. And I said, there may be bubbles on MTV, but we have to get the cable box. And so I studied whoever was like Tony Robbins at the time, and I worked on my skills of talking her into getting the cable box and cable television. And I did it. And we drove down there to this little office, and it still bothered her that she had to pay for television that she was getting with an aerial, but we got the box. And I remember they gave me an MTV bumper sticker for my car. And I was like, man, this is so cool. You get a free bumper sticker. And I just didn't realize how dumb that was. I mean, because they were just promoting it. So we hooked it up, and the cable guy came out and hooked it up. I don't know if it was Jim Carrey. I don't think it was. And we started watching MTV, and it was just really, really cool. And I would turn around to the different channels, and I said, Grandma, this is Cinemax. And it was in the daytime. And she said, no, I'm not going to watch that channel. It has sin in it. And I go, so does cinnamon buns. Sin is okay in certain instances. And she goes, I still not, I don't think I'm going to watch it. And then she started watching some of the videos as she walked by, and she goes, there's scantily clad women in here. And I said, well, there were scantily clad women in the Bible too. Eve didn't have any clothes at all. And I said, besides, Jimmy Swaggart is on these channels, and so he can go work over a couple of channels and spend time with these ladies and maybe talk to them. And it turns out that's what happened. And anyway, so MTV, so good, so great. Even the videos were silly. Even if the videos just had slow-mo of horses running through the water and fire. And it was still pretty cool. You got to understand, my grandma was churchy. She prayed for everybody. She was always at church, and she sang in the choir. And so Saturday night was an important night. She needed to get her sleep. Now, I forgot about that because I was watching the Def Comedy Jam. And if you ever remember Def Comedy Jam on HBO, because we got HBO too, but if you're taking notes. And I love that show because the comedians on there were just hilarious. And I remember I was watching Cedric the Entertainer, and I was just laughing. I was banging on the floor. And so Grandma slowly came out and she goes, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm watching Cedric the Entertainer." And she goes, I need you to be quiet because I need to wake up and sing in the choir in the morning. And I go, well, all right. And I said, but Cedric the entertainer's really funny. She goes, keep it down. And I go, well, all right, I'll pray for you. It was an amazing time, but I did talk my grandma into getting cable television. And she never got fully, I mean, we watched some things together, but I just still don't think she understood the whole MTV thing. And I remember one time I said, Mom, this is MTV on the television. And I said, sit down and we'll watch some. And so she sat down. And Mom likes music, but mostly it's Carpenters and stuff. And so we were watching this music video. I can't remember which one it was, maybe the Buggles or something. And so the video was over, and she goes, "Oh, that was very interesting." And so then the next video started up, and she said, "It's videos all day long." And I said, "Yeah, yeah, it's really amazing." She goes, "Oh, I don't know." So anyway, my goal was to pull grandma into the 20th century, and enjoy things like MTV, cable television, and all that kind of stuff. So that's my story. I hope you enjoyed the story of that. And if you like stories like this, please subscribe and click on the little like button, little like bell, whatever it is, and leave a comment. Do you remember MTV? Do you remember what you went through to get it? Maybe it was easy for you. It was not easy for me. Leave a comment, subscribe if you're into this. And if you're already subscribed, thank you. You're one of the 7 or whatever people. So thank you. And share it with other people who are older, like me, and who remember things like MTV when they had music videos. So until next time, this is still Jeff, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.